Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat with you guys just a little bit about the Bulgarian training I did for the last 7 months, although the last month of it wasn't really Bulgarian anymore, but we'll say at least 6 months I ran what most people would classify as Bulgarian light, or the way you guys like Greg Knuckles and other people would classify it. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this and what numbers I hit. And people need to remember there's obviously some muscle memory involved there, but a lot of people would try to argue you can't really gain muscle on a system like that. So for those people, I'm not sure what we say about that other than it's a fantastic strength peaking program. But what I did, and people need to remember, I did a video yesterday saying why I'm going back to full body 3 days a week, which is again something I've oftentimes done. Because I'm cutting, and I'm finding that the sort of training of daily maxes and stuff like that when trying to cut significant amounts of body weight just isn't working, and I'm going to focus a little more on body composition training as far as the way a strength athlete might do it, not necessarily a bodybuilder. So what numbers did I hit? And people need to remember I had stopped squatting and benching for a long time. I was doing mostly overhead work, deadlifts, rows, things like that. So when I went over to Bulgarian, I waited till I got to a 405 beltless squat. Right, I had a 405 beltless squat when I started Bulgarian training. Again, that's what I built up to, and I was doing triples with something like 370, because I rebuilt it off of 10 sets of 3, all these lifts, and then I went over to some concurrent training, 4-day-a-week concurrent training. And I think like my best triples thus far going into that, I think my bench press, my best triple was actually like 280. Going into the Bulgarian, and my best squat triple up to that point had been about 375. So those were my best 3-rep lifts going into it. As far as things like deadlifts, I hadn't been doing singles. I'd been doing triples with 545. I had been doing body weight chin-ups. So we start looking at some of the lifts. Also, I guess overhead press. Overhead press. My max triple up to that point had been 185 for 3. And I hadn't been doing singles. So I went over to all the singles, and what numbers did I hit during the training? Let's see, you guys remember for a while I got up to doing 485 on the squat 6 days in a row. So I went from my squat being right around low 400s. So we'll say 405 because that was the heaviest single I had hit going into it. Because even once I threw a belt on, I only went up about 10 pounds immediately to like the 415. So we'll say 415 then. That was my belted squat. And I went to 485. So I put 70 pounds on my squat during that time. Bench press, like 275 or so. I think, yeah, 275 for my best triple going into that. Puts me right around a 300-ish bench. Right, 300, maybe 305, calculated off of that. And what do we end up getting? 335. I did 335 actually 5 days in a row in 1 week. So 335 is what I was hitting. So approximately a 30-pound increase on the bench press. I had been doing body weight chin-ups, but I was actually around 250 doing those. I could do about 5 at the time. So that's a 5 with my body weight. I think I was, around 236. 236 when I was doing my 100-pound dead hang chin-ups. So what are we talking about here? I had lost, at least 14 pounds by that point, but added 100. So we're going to say about 85 pounds on that. But then again, we've got the other stuff. It's hard to calculate that. But I think probably reasonable to say I gained at least 50 pounds on the chin-up. If we were to try to estimate what my max might have been at the heavier body weight with the reps. So all in all, what did I get out of a lot of it? The overhead press. My best single actually going into that was 205. Because I had also tried a single at the start of it, and I could grind out 205. And the best single I hit was 227.5. So now I've got to do some extra math here. So 22 and a half pounds, 22 pounds on my overhead press. So what did we get out of the Bulgarian over the course of the time I was on it, even with some of it with weight loss involved? 70 pounds on my squat, 30 pounds on my bench, 22 pounds on my overhead press, maybe 50 pounds on my chin up. I'm going to say that was pretty successful. So that was pretty successful. And will I run Bulgarian again? Most likely, yeah. I'm not going to do it right now. Body composition needs to be a primary concern for me while still doing lowish reps. So like I said already, I'm going to go over to the full body stuff. 3 days a week, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which I will be starting today because I took yesterday off. I was feeling a little fatigued and I had other stuff I wanted to get done. So I took yesterday off. That means I really only have to train 3 days a week. Now I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff in those 3 days. It is going to be more volume than I've been doing, a little bit more previously. It's going to be a little more volume. So that's going to be the goal. So I'm going to try to get my body weight down. And will I lose muscle? Yeah, I've lost some muscle, I think, already on this cut. You know, it's hard to say on DEXA scans, again, how much of the lean mass you actually lose is muscle, because there's other things that are lean mass that are involved. So weight loss always includes lean mass, even not counting the muscle that you lose on it. So we can't, it's hard to kind of calculate what that non-muscle lean mass is going to be equal to. So it's fair to assume I can probably recomp a bit once I'm at a body weight that I'm comfortable at. I don't expect recomposition. I say that in the training I'm going to push hard enough to try to gain muscle, but in all likelihood it may not be any real muscle gain. It might still be loss, because again, I have a fair amount of body weight I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose over 20 more pounds. So I feel like if I do Bulgarian again later at a much lighter body weight, I think one of my first goals would be to get back to those same numbers that I was hitting up in the 230s or the 240s, but at a much lighter body weight. And I think that would be a lot more interesting, because, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, you know, your lifts or whatever suck, but would they really suck if I was, say, 200 pounds? And that's the interesting question. And I've already done them at a heavier body weight while holding a lot of body fat, and that's kind of funny how stuff works. You know, there is muscle memory, and people know that. That's one reason bulking and cutting does work, is that when people bulk up and get pretty fat, and then they cut down, people are like, yeah, but they lost all the muscle, or a lot of the muscle, some of the muscle on their cut, but they still have the muscle memory for it, which means regaining that muscle is easier and doesn't require the same calorie surplus to regain it again. So I think in all likelihood, I think a good baseline to start would be, like, let's say, I'm just going to throw 200 out there because I don't know what body weight I'm going to get to and maintain for a while. I'll kind of know when I get there. But it's fair to say, though, that if I get down to that body weight, or even a hair under, and then recomp a little bit, because you might gain some weight on a recomp, again, even if it's glycogen storage and stuff like that. It would be interesting, though, at, say, 200 pounds to go back, run the system again at a much, much lighter body weight without bulking, and at a lighter body weight to go back and hit the same numbers. And that would be pretty interesting. Like if I got down to 200-ish and could come back in and hit 485 squat, right? 335 bench, 227 press. Some of those numbers, that wouldn't be too bad. Now people say, what about the deadlift? Why didn't you mention the deadlift? Because I didn't increase my deadlift during any of that. I don't feel that I did, because I was doing triples with 545, right? And the heaviest deadlift you guys saw me even attempt, and I got it easily with, what, 575 during the Bulgarian training? 575. That's not an increase. 30 pounds over what I was doing triples with, able to do for 3 reps. Not really an increase, but that wouldn't be bad either. I mean, even a 575 plus deadlift at 200 wouldn't be terrible. Wouldn't be terrible. And then go from there. Because, I mean, that would be for me kind of the goal. I mean, obviously for now, body composition is a important goal, but regaining all that strength is going to be, and then I'd like to go beyond it, you know. I would love to go beyond it. So the goal might be, you know, coming up next year, might be something like, can we hit a 500 squat at 200 pounds? Can I hit a 350 bench at 200 pounds? Can I deadlift 600 at 200 pounds, right? That would be worthy goals. At least a 225 standing press at 200. So, I think that's the way I'm going to go with a lot of it, because I like the Bulgarian. It's fun. I enjoy that style of training. I'm just finding that when I'm cutting right now, it's not conducive during a weight loss phase. It just really isn't. It's extremely difficult to train that way during a weight loss phase. And you get people out there who've never done it who will say dumb stuff like, no, go try doing multiple reps and sets or whatever. And it's like, well, I'm about to do that because it's easier for me to train 3 days a week and do actual reps and sets than it is to hit a heavy max 5 or 6 days in a row. Because I've done both of them. It is easier. It is easier. And I need easier because I'm going to be cutting, and I need to basically, for the amount of fatigue I'm accumulating, I need to be stimulating more muscle adaptation, more actual growth, in order to hold on to muscle better during a weight loss phase. But yeah, the truth is, it is difficult. It is taxing, and it's fun. I like training that way, but it's just way too difficult when in a calorie deficit and losing significant amounts of weight. So I'll run it again, but I probably won't run it again until I've reached a stabilization weight, a body weight that I'm happy at and I can sit at for a little while, right? Not just get there and then switch training systems automatically again, but to kind of change my body's set points to where my body is comfortable being at that weight, kind of create a new homeostasis, instead of a given weight for a couple months, and then maybe switch back over to some Bulgarian again and get that peak strength back up. That might be the way to go. But it was a really fun experiment. I really wanted to keep doing it indefinitely. I really wanted to, and I had said I would try, but after, again, by about 7 months, particularly with several months of being a weight loss phase, serious weight loss phase, it just got to be too much. It got to be too much to handle from a recovery perspective. But again, people not bulking, it works great. And a lot of people notice this. A lot of people who run that training system are very, very, very lean, but there's been oftentimes a lot of steps for them to get to that point. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.